Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Moda ani lefanecha, ruach chai v'kayam. Moda ani lefanecha, ruach chai v'kayam. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Moda ani lefanecha, ruach chai v'kayam. Moda ani lefanecha, ruach chai v'kayam. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Moda ani lefanecha, ruach chai v'kayam. Moda ani lefanecha, ruach chai v'kayam. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Once more. Moda ani levanecha, ruach chai v'kayam. Moda ani levanecha, ruach chai v'kayam. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat
Hey,
Shalom.
everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. KZOOMers. I heard this story, kind of a Hasidic story about something that happened. There was a great Rebbe, and his students would, especially were lovers of Shabbat, because this Rebbe made such an incredible Shabbat that everyone really just felt like transformed by that Shabbat that the Rebbe made, and they, it was the kind of center of their practice. But there was some, kind of a little mischievous kind of kids as part of it. They decided to do an experiment. They said, well, something, Shabbat is something happens. Why does it happen? Maybe what would happen if we made Shabbat on Thursday? What would happen? And so they did this whole secret thing, and they told their friends, and they secretly went over to somebody's basement where nobody would see them, but they all wore their finest clothes, and they lit the Shabbat candles, and they said all of the prayers, and they didn't know what was going to happen. This was really kind of like a secret crazy thing that they were doing. And what do you know? The Shabbat spirit descended on them, and they felt so transformed by this Shabbat that they made on Thursday night. But then they woke up on Friday morning, and they were just mortified. They were afraid. They were like, oh my God, why did this happen? This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't supposed to work. It really wasn't Shabbat, and then we made it Shabbat. What are we going to do? And they were just they were hiding from the Rebbe, and meanwhile, the Rebbe knew all about this experiment they were doing, and he called them into his place, and and they came in, and they were all ashamed of themselves, but they were all filled with doubt too. They said, what does it mean if we can, and so he kind of, the Rebbe, was trying to comfort them and to try to help them to make peace with this. He gave them a little scolding for having been so naughty. But then, but then he opened up this different kind of sense of what Shabbat is. And he said to them, Shabbat is always there. There's, that spirit of Shabbat is always there. And we're the ones who call it down into us. And so he kind of comforted them. He said, you didn't do it. It was always there.
You just tuned into it.
You tuned in, and so I wanted to, like as this KZOOM was approaching, I thought, oh, it's almost Shabbat. Let's do it. Let's do that. And so the love at the center practice for this week is at the end of chapter 7 of Shir Hashirim, and it begins with these words that maybe became the most famous of all the words of Shir Hashirim, of the Song of Songs, which is dodi. Does that sound familiar to you? Dodi. Dodi says, "Come, my beloved, naytzeh HaSadeh. Come, my beloved, let's go out to the field." And there was this mystic in the 16th century in Tzfat whose name was Shlomo Alkabetz, and he was a lover of the Song of Songs, as we all are. Mm-hmm. And he looked into the Song of Songs and he said, "Oh, this might just be the incantation that will call in the spirit of Shabbat, because on Shabbat, God becomes the beloved. All the other kind of metaphors of God sort of fall away, and the sense of God as beloved, life as beloved, reality as beloved, kind of comes forth for us, and it also, the line really holds a key, an instruction of how do we enter Shabbat consciousness. It says naytzeh HaSadeh, which means, in Hasidic language, it means go out into the field, open up your consciousness to spacious awareness, and so those words dodi really became that code word for entering into a different state of consciousness, which is always available to us. And it feels like that state of consciousness is actually what keeps us sane as we go into all the doings of our lives, all the busyness of our lives, that underneath all of that busyness, underneath all that doing, is the place of pure being. And when we can touch that place of being and let it be the foundation for all of our doing, then it's like a different kind of sanity enters our life. And so in my commentary, I say, by stepping into Shabbat consciousness, I am letting go of my attachments to judgments, opinions, control, fixed identity, and all the rigid complications of my struggle. I'm stepping into trust, unknowing, and endless possibility. So the question that I'm asking this week is, can I open to Shabbat consciousness as the underlying field of spacious awareness that is always available, and it then transforms our doing. So this dodi naytzeh HaSadeh actually has 3 parts. So.
That'll be tricky. Janice, we need you back this week. 3 parts.
But I wanted to use it just as a practice of imagining Shabbat consciousness as something that is always offering itself to you. Even in the midst of your busyness, in the midst of your work, that is there for you to tune into. And it connects you to the infinite, or to your true nature. Let's try it. Dodi naytzeh HaSadeh, lecha dodi naytzeh HaSadeh, lecha dodi naytzeh always bring your attention to the breath. Breathe into the heart and imagine in your heart a big, wide, open, spacious field. And there in that field, all of your beloveds. With each breath, the field gets a little bit wider, making room for everyone in your heart. And that sense of spaciousness gives you such relief from the clutter of your life. And you can just relax into that sense of spaciousness and feel the place of trust, of not knowing, of endless possibility, of expansiveness inside your heart. And you can imagine everyone in this Zoom room is sitting inside your heart, too. And breathe in a little blessing to everyone for interbeing with you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and take a look at all the people that have been sitting in your heart here. So, you know, when I met Rachmiel, and he wasn't Jewish when I first met him, and I taught him about Shabbat, and actually our first date really was second date was Shabbat.
December 31st, 1999.
And he just couldn't believe it, that there was something so great.
Like 25 hours? Oh, yeah.
He said, I've been looking for this my whole life.
I try to carve out an hour here or there. 25 of them. Oh, yeah.
So you know, I said, oh, yeah. So I call him. Sometimes I say, oh, you're a Shabbat-loving guy.
That's me.
Yeah. So that, you know, I was sort of one of the Shabbat-loving guys that I was looking into his teachings today was Oliver Sacks. Mm-hmm. And Oliver Sacks kind of grew up as a kind of Orthodox Jew, and then he really left it. And at the end of his life, he kind of came back to Shabbat as being like a core place that was inside him. And he said, Shabbat is the day we stand still and let all our blessings catch up with us.
That's good.
Shabbat's the day we stand still and let all of our blessings catch up with us. And in order to receive all those blessings, we have to become spacious. And I found this other teaching by Reb Shlomo Carlebach, may his memory be a blessing. And he said, on Shabbat, something happens to the world. The world becomes infinite again. I thought that was really interesting. Mm-hmm. The world becomes infinite again. Mm-hmm. It's almost as if, you know, we've shrunk the world down to fit into our conceptions and our,
stress does that. It sort of constricts.
Condense it, constricts it. Yeah. And then the world becoming infinite again, and touching that place of the infinite. The prophet Isaiah has this one line, that says, Harchivi, mekom ohalech. Harchivi, and the word Harchivi is the it's called a he feel verb, that when you make something do something else, So it's like make this spaciousness happen and enlarge. And makom is the place, but it's also that secret name for God. And so enlarge the God space, ohalech, of your tent, of the place where you dwell. Enlarge it, because it's really too small. It's really going to constrict you. It's really going to cramp your style. I don't know where that came from, but it's really, like your spiritual style, and like to let your spirit keep expanding. You also have to expand, those beliefs that hold you in a smaller kind of realm. And so I wanted to do that practice as we enter into Shabbat consciousness. That's kind of one of the keys to it, is allowing the world to become infinite, and allowing that stillness within, which allows the blessings to catch up with us and to fill the space that we have created. So Harchivi, and this practice has really been very useful to me at times when I've suffered with some kind of pain that I couldn't make go away, whether it was physical pain or emotional pain, that I can't make that pain go away, but I can create a large space in which that pain can be. And the larger the space, the more insignificant or manageable the pain becomes. And it feels like a very important strategy in dealing with all different kinds of pain, is knowing how infinite I am, and so that that pain becomes just like a one little dot inside me. So there's, I love when we're together to do lots of harmonies with this, because harmonies are a kind of a musical way of expanding space. It opens it up. And we'll just have one harmony, but if you guys want to find lots of harmonies and play with it and feel like we are opening up that tent, the Zoom tent. Stay in that wide open space, feeling our hearts expand. And as we taste this Shabbat consciousness, that we know that it is the antidote to overwhelm. Because as long as we have this inner spaciousness, we won't be overwhelmed. We'll be able to hold it, to manage whatever comes to us, because it comes to us and lands inside this wide space of who we really are. And Shabbat really introduces us to who we are. So, another teaching about Shabbat from Walter Brueggemann, a Protestant Bible scholar who said Sabbath is not simply the pause that refreshes. It is the pause that transforms. It is the pause that transforms. And like that. And so we want to say, well, what is that? What is that transformation? And one of the great themes of Shabbat is the remembering of going out of Egypt, going out of the narrow place, and that sense of freedom, really, freedom from kind of defining ourselves by our doing, by what we accomplish, and instead knowing ourselves, through God's eyes, as perfect, and really getting to taste this mythical place that's called Gan Eden. And so, if Gan Eden is always there, we want to be able to nourish ourselves with that taste, and what Shabbat gives us is the freedom to kind of lose our self-consciousness, and really step into this kind of the expansive place of love that is our inheritance. And so next week's practice of the Song of Songs, and I'm not going to be here next week with KZOOMing with you, so I wanted to bring this to you now.
Chef will be canoeing on the Green River as we speak, or maybe making camp.
And so there's a practice, the beginning of chapter 8, that is called Shameless Kisses. Shameless Kisses. And Shameless Kisses is a fantasy, really. It's a fantasy of a way of living that is not constricted by other people's opinions, and it it says, it's like, how's that fantasy that says, I would kiss you in the streets.
Freedom to kiss each other in the streets.
No, not just just each other, but just life itself. Our lives being a kiss to life itself, kind of like taking away that the shame, that says, oh, who am I to kiss life, God, to live with that kind of freedom, really. And the fantasy is that no one would scorn me if I was truly myself, if I didn't have these, inhibitions that keep me small. The fantasy is that no one would scorn me. I think the truth is, people still scorn because that's what they do, but I would be oblivious to their scorning.
Yes.
And I've touched that in some moments of Shabbat consciousness. Another way that I kind of describe Shabbat consciousness is the sanctification of pleasure. Sanctification of pleasure. So to take all of the pleasure of my life and know it as holy and as unscornable. Yes.
Right, there you go. Just bounces off.
And so when I do this practice, I'm kind of like dreaming like the me that I would like to become, the one that is oblivious to scorn, and that can step into this state of Shabbat, no matter what day it is, really, and know that Shabbat is underneath every moment, waiting for me to touch. So to feel, in the very first line of Song of Songs is about that place of the kiss.
Kiss me with the kisses.
Kiss me with the kisses of your mouth. That's the very first line of the Song of Songs. And so the whole, now we're at the last chapter, and we're still, kind of saying like, all of this love that we have tasted is bring me to the place where maybe I can go outside and be my true self, live my true love, and not, sort of pretend that I'm small. So I invite you into the fantasy, to try it on. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam lo yavuzu li, gam lo yavuzu li. Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, Emtza'acha vachutz esha'k'cha, gam what we're looking for is a quality of presence that is unapologetically, uniquely you. I'm not trying to be anybody else. And opening up to that essential self, that authentic self that's buried underneath all of our neuroses. And feeling ourselves kind of relax into that without the burden of other people's opinions or judgments or criticism. Just breathing into that possibility. So Shabbat is an invitation. It's an invitation. And we might get a little glimpse of Shabbat consciousness here and there, on Shabbat or not on Shabbat. And then we could say, oh, I want to try that on. I want to see how that fits. I want to step into the garb of Shabbat so that I can kind of expand to my full breadth. And so the last practice I want to do with you in this opening to Shabbat consciousness is also from Isaiah, and it says, I will rejoice. I will really rejoice in the presence of God that dressed me in the garments of salvation. You know, that allows me to step into this, a sense of royalty, beauty, flair, it's like Shabbat is kind of like the over-the-top time, where we put the fragrance that we love on, and
also the extra soul. You teach
the extra, yeah. There's the neshama yetera. There's this idea of getting an extra soul on Shabbat, and the teaching never made that much sense to me. That like, who's this extra soul? Like, and then the teaching that I received from Rabbi Art Green was that what extra soul means is that on Shabbat there's parts of our souls. I mean, on the rest of the week that is kind of harsh, our souls kind of shrink a little bit, and that because it doesn't feel so safe to show our whole soul.
That real sensitive.
Yeah, the sensitive part of ourselves. But Shabbat makes it safe. So even that extra sensitive part of myself can come out, and that is actually, sometimes the most beautiful part can come out and feel safe, feel like it can bloom into this big space that we've created for it. So that's the extra dimension of soul, really, that comes on Shabbat. And wouldn't it be cool if we could just have that extra dimension, sort of alive in us always? Shabbat is like the taste of it, but why not? Why not have that? To create the world or the space where we can feel safe. So sometimes when I do this chant, when I'm with you in person, I ask you to try it on, to feel what it's like to do a little fashion show. Like, what is your Shabbat garment like? What does it feel like, to wear those garments of salvation, and to take a little walk around the room, and to feel the presence of Shabbat lift you up into a kind of a posture of royalty, really. And it is, that sense of being lifted into the utmost dignity of your humanity, which is your divinity, which is wanting to come out. So I invite you, if you feel like taking a little walk, putting those garments on, and taking a joyful walk in the room there.
Asis, badonay, tagayl, nafshi, belohai. Asis, badonay, tagayl, nafshi, belohai. Hilbishani, bigday, yesha, hilbishani, bigday, yesha, asis, badonay, tagayl, nafshi, belohai. Asis, badonay, tagayl, nafshi, belohai. Hilbishani, bigday, yesha, hilbishani, bigday, yesha, asis, badonay, tagayl, nafshi, belohai. Asis, badonay, tagayl, nafshi, belohai. Hilbishani, tagayl, nafshi, yesha, tagayl nafshi belohai. So asi hilbishani, tagayl nafshi belohai. Hilbishani, yesha.
I invite you to close your eyes and feel your inner being just expanding, and let it change your posture. Really let yourself be filled up with spirit so that your spine gets straighter and your heart opens. And there comes into your body a kind of a divine dignity of knowing who you really are, knowing the divine soul that is trying to express itself through your life, if you let it. You know, and as you sit up on that kind of throne of your life, you can let all of the tension relax. And just breathe into that sense of remembrance, remembering who you are, and remembering that Shabbat is there for you. And one last teaching from Wendell Berry, who says that the Shabbat invites us to delight in the world's beauty and abundance. Invites us to delight. You know, that's the one thing we do on Shabbat is to delight. But why not do it every day?
I forget.
You forget.
That may be a common malady.
You forget to delight. So we have to remind each other
Yes.
to delight. To delight. There's so much beauty and abundance to delight in, no matter what. And so let's take a look around the Zoom room. Oops.
Yes.
To delight in each other's presence.
Zivalev. Oh.
No,
And where is Zivalev?
right over here.
Yes. And
if there's
the
some
sweet
people who
baby.
might be here for the first time, this is
Welcome.
your first time KZOOMers.
Pretty juicy, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, Samira's got roses. You got roses in your hair.